Thank you. Thank you, Alexandra, and thank you to the organizers to give me the opportunity to present the work of OAI on stray dog in Europe. To present this work, specific work, I need to introduce a new initiative we have since 2013 in Europe, because all the activities that will be presented are under the umbrella of this platform. So it's called the OAI Platform on Animal Welfare for Europe. It was really created at the demand, at the request of our member countries in Europe. I don't know how much you're familiar with the OAI, but you have to know maybe that Europe for the OAI comprises 53 countries and go as far east as Kazakhstan. So this platform is made for these 53 countries, and it has been very much country-driven. So we've put it in place basically in 2013. We had a big regional conference with all 53 delegates, which are the official OAI contact person in each of the countries. And we've endorsed the concept note of the platform, and later on we've put in place the governance of this platform, which comprises around 15 members, country representative, but also our collaborating center on animal welfare in Teramo, the European Commission, of course. And we also have a permanent observer, which is WAP, the World Animal Protection. And Joe, I don't know if Joe is here, but Joe attends the governance meeting of this platform. We also put in place an action plan, a 3-year action plan at the beginning, which runs 2014-2016. And as you can see, we decided to have 3 priority topics for the first 3 years, and dog population management, stray dog population management is one of them. All this platform, the action plan actually is funded mainly by the European Commission, but we also have other sponsors. So the action plan has the ultimate goal, which is to really improve animal welfare in Europe. We have a strategic objective, which is to empower veterinary services to take action in animal. And here I want you to understand that our main target for this platform are the veterinary services. And as you know, the veterinary services should play a leading role when it comes to animal welfare and when it comes to animal health, including zoonoses. And de facto, they should play a very important role as well in dog population, stray dog population management. We have specific objective, which is really to raise awareness on those 3 priority topics, and to progressively advance in the implementation of OAI standards in the region. When it comes to stray dog particularly, we will do several initiatives, awareness campaign, depository of best practices, etc., etc. But for time purposes, I will focus on these regional roadmaps initiative. The basis of all the work we're doing in the region, and actually globally on stray dogs, lies on this chapter 7.7 in the OAI Terrestrial Animal Health Code that you may be familiar with. It's a quite comprehensive chapters, and I'm sure you know this chapter. So the regional roadmaps we intend to do in Europe. As you can see, the road is quite long and quite curved. And at the end you will see the word compliance, and I will explain what we expect to do all along this path. The first thing we did, and I will focus now on what we did in the Balkans, is to organize a first workshop. It's called SDB1. It's the first workshop on stray dogs in the Balkans. It was held last June in Bucharest, Romania, because at the time we thought it was very relevant to hold this meeting there. And we invited all the countries belonging to this sub-region of Balkans, including Turkey, So we invited 11 countries, 10 could make it. And from each country, we invited the national focal point on animal welfare. So I don't know whether you're familiar with this notion of national focal points. OIE has one delegate per country, which is the official person that we contact or through which we channel our information. But to support the delegate in several areas, we also ask each country to nominate 8 focal points in different topics. And one of these topics is animal welfare. So in each country we have 1 delegate and 8 technical persons, 1 for animal welfare, and we train these people on a regular basis every 2 years, if we have the money, on the work of the OIE and on the need to implement the OIE standards. So really our target in this meeting was these national focal points on animal welfare from the 11 countries, as well as 1 veterinarian working at municipal level on stray dog. The main objective of this workshop were really to remind the provision of the chapter, to review what is already in place in the country, to identify with them what works, what doesn't work, what do they need, and also to share best practice, because there are some very good stories in the region as well. But most importantly, if I may say so, the key objective was to have the country decide on a regional vision. From this meeting, we had a first assessment given by the countries themselves, and as you can see, the stray dog population in this region is increasing, basically, or remaining stable, except in Kosovo and in former Yugoslavia of Republic of Macedonia. So the key outcomes, and I think these were really key, was that the country agreed to embark into a multi-annual initiative that has for ultimate objective to become fully compliant with this chapter by 2025. Implying de facto that the dog population are reduced to an acceptable level, and that the risk of disease transmitted by stray dogs is also mitigated. Another important outcome was that the 11 countries, or the 10 that were present actually, agreed to develop national roadmaps towards this vision, to achieve this vision, and that they also agree finally that we could monitor the progress they made every 2 years, provided we have the financing to do so. So how will we monitor the progress? It's a very important topic, and so the OIE has developed what we call the self-assessment and monitoring tool. What we've done, basically, we've taken the chapter 7.7, every key points in this chapter has been turned into a question, and the whole thing becomes a questionnaire. I think in total we have around 30 questions. There are many sub-questions, and the country can use it as a self-assessment to know where they are and if they are progressing. I will really quickly present this, so it's available online. So to date you have the introduction pages where you can find some background, the geographical scope of this regional initiative, the objective, the duration of the self-assessment, etc. And then you get into the last page, which is really entering the survey. And you can enter the survey only if you were given access by the OIE. So the countries which will do the assessment are actually given a password, a token we call it, and then they enter the survey. The first section of the survey is really to have the respondent details, and then we go into the core of the questionnaire again, which is really about the OIE standards on stray dog. And we have 6 sections basically. The first one, following exactly the structure of the chapter. The first one is understanding the situation, so you have some question again, and the first one would say, does the stray dog population pose a problem in your country? And if you respond when, yes, you can have some sub-question that appears and that makes the assessment a bit more in depth. At the end of each section, you will have self-assessment in terms of compliance with the OIE standards for this specific session, and the country will indicate whether it thinks it's non-compliant, partially compliant, or fully compliant. So the same goes for the second part, which is on the control measure. We have all the questions of the chapter. Third one on monitoring and evaluation, a very important part as well. This fourth section is about the conclusion and the next step. I think it's a key part because we are asking the country on having a bit of recul, I don't know in English, take a bit of distance and assess the situation, what they think about the trends and their weak points in the country. Also identify if they may need some external support to move on. And it doesn't show, but identify the key activities to conduct in the next years. Another section is about the validation. I think it's very important because we ask the national delegate, which is in most cases the chief veterinary officer of the country, to validate those answers. So it's really official data that we're trying to collect through this assessment. And then we have a satisfactory survey because we are still in the piloting phase, and I'm sure the country will notice some areas for improvement. So we had this first workshop in June 2014. The ultimate goal is really to achieve compliance with all the provision of the chapter. In between, we'll have some workshop to monitor the progress, hopefully every 2 years. The next one is already scheduled in June 2016. And very importantly, we will use the tool at present for the country to self-assess their situation. So just now, because during this workshop we've presented the tool, so now they have been requested to do it. But of course, it will be much more relevant to have the conclusion of the self-assessment number 2 before the next meeting, because then we can discuss all together the conclusions. And of course, the response in between will allow us to measure progress and to identify where we can help. So what we've been doing is this workshop. We are currently launching, it has been launched a few weeks ago. You see on February, our Director General sent a letter to all delegates to conduct this self-assessment. We have a deadline of March 20. When I was contacted for this conference in November, I thought the results would be already available and that I would have some results to present. I'm really sorry because we had some delay in launching the survey. So I can't really already present them, but I must say that the countries all agreed that the results should be made public, so there's no confidentiality linked to those results. And because there were a lot of questions in this questionnaire, and because we are in the first phase, we just made mandatory the questions pertaining to section 1 on assessing their situation. And these are the questions you can get in this first section on assessing the situation. And there are some very important questions about the number of stray dogs, do they assess it, do they identify the source of stray dog, etc. So I'm almost done. The first, and I think this is a very important, the next 2 slides are very important because that's where we are. We've been doing that. We will launch the self-assessment. This has been launched. We will launch the second one to discuss the results during this workshop. But in between, the countries will have to work. And we think that, and we will really get those priority from the results of this first assessment, but I think we can already anticipate that the priorities will be to assess the number of stray dogs, to identify their sources, and to start modernizing the legal framework to address the stray dog in the countries. And we may come with some other priorities from the results. So, what we expect in the next 2 years is that there will be some capacity building activities. Under the initiative, the OIE will really be able to monitor the situation and to organize those 2 workshops. In between, there is room for support to the country. We, of course, expect the country to do most of the work, and we see in Turkey they are doing already a lot of things. But there will be needs for supporting countries in doing dog counting surveys, for doing some workshops and seminars, notably on how to modernize the legislation on stray dog, etc. And that's where we think it would be very useful if we could all coordinate toward achieving the same vision, working in the same direction, combining efforts, avoiding duplication, creating synergies. So it's a call I'm launching. And it would be good, again, if we could all coordinate. That's the first result, but again, only 4 countries have provided their results to date out of the 11 countries, so these results, I don't think they are relevant so far, so I will not, and I have a problem of timing as well, so I will not enter the details. To finish, I want to say that we are launching this initiative for the Balkans. It was launched last year, and as you see, we have a target by 2025. We will launch a similar initiative for Central Asia countries. 8 countries are involved, 3 from the Caucasus, 5 from the Central Asia countries, and we expect to have our first workshop this year to create the same stimulation and for them to decide, because it's really their decision, what could be their vision. And then we will have a third initiative based on the same principles, using the same monitoring tool in this Eastern Europe. We called it Stray Dog Eastern Europe. This we will do next year, hopefully. And I must say, when we first designed it, we had only included Belarus, Moldavia, and Ukraine, and it's really at the request of Russia that we've included them in this roadmap. So basically, under this platform of Europe, we will have 3 what we call stray dog roadmaps, but again, completely, the process is led by the country themselves, and they decide the pace they want to progress. So we'll have this first stray dog for Western Eurasia, the one in the middle. Same principle as for the stray dog in the Balkans, same objective. However, the diversity of the human-dog relation is not always the same in those countries. So we are currently working on this aspect, not to replicate exactly what is done in the Balkans, but to make sure we accommodate sub-regional context as much as possible. What we need for this workshop is really to translate in Russian the tool. It has been done so far. To prepare, to conduct the workshop, and then to ask the countries, these 8 countries from Central Asia, to fill this self-assessment tool. Everything is available on the platform website. You can find the address here. It's a provisional website. We are building a nicer one. It should be made available in 2 or 3 months, but you can already find everything on this initiative under this interim website. Oops. And that's it. So as you can see, the road is long, it's curved. The countries will have to negotiate the bends correctly, but eventually they will manage to become fully compliant with the UI standards. Thank you.